What is up, everybody? It's Dante Walton here. Today I'm going to give my review of episodes 1 and 2 of the new series The Last of Us on HBO. But before we get things started, make sure to leave a like, comment down below, subscribe for more content coming soon. So yeah, The Last of Us is based on the video game of the same name from 2013. Naughty Dog Studios, released on PS3. I think I first kind of want to establish what's my history with the Last of Us franchise. I have played some of the first game. I've tried it out twice, when it originally came out and also the remastered on PlayStation 4. Never made it too far both times I played. I'll put it this way. These first two episodes have already gone past what I experienced in the game itself, so I'm not going to be spoiling anything in the games that wasn't covered by the show already, because honestly, past this, I don't know what's going to happen, to be honest. But I do understand, from what little I played and from what people have said, there are differences between the game and the show. I'm not too interested in going into the minutia of explaining what was changed and what was better in which medium. Kind of just want the show to stand by its own merits and faults. But with that, I'm going to give a little bit of my thoughts on episode 1, then a little bit of my thoughts on episode 2, and then kind of my general thoughts of what I think of the show so far, and we're just going to go from here. So yeah, episode 1, this was kind of like a double episode in a way, an hour and 20 minutes. I think this was meant to be two different episodes, but they kind of put it into one big premiere here. I really, right off the bat, I really enjoyed the show. I enjoyed, one thing that is new that I think is actually worth noting is that they're adding more of backstory and more not really flashbacks, just scenes that take place before the start of the game. This episode opened up 1968 on a talk show, two scientists talking about what are some threats that can be posed to the world. One talking about a pandemic from an influenza type of virus. Another one talking about the possibility of fungi creating a virus that will infect humans, and the possibility of that happening if the world were to get a few degrees hotter, which would allow the cordyceps to survive inside the human body. So all of that was kind of set the tone for the show and kind of grounds it into a little bit more of it's obviously still science fiction and just fantasy, but just kind of grounding a little bit more into real world life, And then the whole 2003 thing. I do remember that the game started in 2013, and then the time jump 20 years later to 2033. But I do like the choice of making it 2003, and then the rest of the series taking place mostly in 2023, our current time right now. So that's a really interesting choice, especially given the worldwide pandemic that started a few years ago, So kind of the timing of that's interesting. But I really did enjoy the 2003 section. Nico Parker did a really good job playing Sarah. It really gives more into this perspective of what the life was like for Joel before the whole outbreak and all that. Just showing one day in the life of Sarah and Joel and Tommy and all that. Really did more to kind of, set up a lot of things. It really set up the relationship between Tommy and Joel, their brotherly relationship, kind of a little bit contentious, but still willing to fight for each other. And obviously we see later on that Tommy's really interested in reuniting with Tommy. He really wants the battery for the truck and all that. So really well set up in the 2003 flashback. And we get to be put more into the perspective of Sarah. And so eventually when she dies, it hits a little bit harder, in my opinion. And the acting and all those actors are really incredible. When it time jumps 20 years into the Boston quarantine zone, I really thought the production design, everything was just impeccable. It really seemed like a place you can actually go in real life. Just the set decoration, the attention to detail and everything, the graffiti, all these little things was just extremely well done, in my opinion. Yeah, from what we saw in episode 1, every actor pretty much brought it, but it was interesting seeing how Ellie and Joel team up for the first time and all that, how they their meeting happens, all that was well done. If I had to give an MVP for the first episode at least, I'd probably give it to Pedro Pascal. Both in 2003, 2023, just seeing how his character has changed in this 20 years. Obviously going through something like that, in such a small amount of time, in one day, a big outbreak happens, you lose your daughter. Just I couldn't even imagine all that happening in such a short amount of time. And then seeing 20 years, how like some of that still affects him. Like he still wears the watch, but also he's been hardened a little bit. Like he's willing to burn the kid's body that was infected, that came in earlier in the episode when the other person was not willing to do it. Him having kind of like, at least the audience shows like a flashback of the soldier that shot him and his daughter, and how he kind of just used that like emotion to fuel him to just like beat the soldier at the end of the episode to death. I think that soldier died. But yeah, just really powerful performance. But every performance in the show has been great. Episode 2, I really enjoyed another like scene that takes place before the main story. 2003 Jakarta. Really interesting to see seemingly where the outbreak started. With like the professor of mycology being brought in to examine like the body with the cordyceps in it and all that. And her, man, just like the one shot, her on the couch holding the cup of tea, saying that there's no medicine, there's no vaccine they can make. And when the soldier asked her what she recommends, she says bomb everybody in the city. Man, just showing kind of like what the scientists in 1968 said, that if that happens, then we lose. There's nothing we can do about it. There's no medicine, cure. And for I think it's a really nice bookend for episode 2. I mean, like starting off her saying that, oh, we just have to bomb, there's no medicine, there's no vaccine, to like kind of what happens in episode 2, like thinking, what if Ellie is the key to finally having something that can cure this virus? Just having a little bit of hope, because Joel said, oh, we've heard this a million times, it's not going to work. But with Tess, like kind of like believing in it and trying to inspire Joel, saying, oh, if you could just save somebody, just do it. Because like if Ellie is the key, if she isn't, then she's not, but she might be the key. That's like the best shot that humanity has and all that. So I really like the kind of juxtaposition there, and the kind of the way it was bookended. But episode 2 focused a lot on the main trio of Tess, Joel, and Ellie. I really gotta say, if there's an MVP for episode 2, it's probably Anna Torv as Tess. I'll be honest, I don't even remember the character of Tess from the video game. Like it's been years since I played it, but I definitely remember Joel and Ellie, and I think I remember Tommy too, and Sarah and all them. But like, man, I really enjoyed the character of Tess in the show. Just the way she played it, like kind of her slowly kind of believing and having that optimism back, and her willing to sacrifice herself. The way she sacrificed herself was, man, that was a great scene. Man, just like the physical acting and everything, like when she gets infected, kind of it's like subtle, but if you look back, like she's kind of like trembling a little bit, like her hand is kind of shaking, and when she's going down the ladder, she kind of like winces, like it's like kind of like hints that like, oh, even the way she's speaking, that yeah, she knows that her time is limited, but she's willing to use her last moments to try to help Ellie get to where she needs to go, because she has some faith that she might be the key. One thing I will say is that episode 2, we had I believe they're called the clickers, like that new type of infected, like where the fungus kind of like completely overtaken like the top of their head, where they can't see, and they rely on echolocation to move about and find possible targets to infect next. They were terrifying in this episode, like more so than I remember in the video game. And they really seemed like a real threat. Like in the museum, that was a great set piece, by the way. There's only like a couple, I think, clickers in there, but they really pose a real threat. They definitely seem more of a threat than they were, like, obviously in a video game. That's like it's like a common enemy type. You're not going to make it too difficult for them to face them. But in the show, like the infected seemed like a bigger threat, especially with a really cool concept here of like this fungal network or whatever, that I think that it's kind of exists in real life, where fungus can kind of communicate with each other in a way, like miles away. So that was really interesting that like in like the state building or whatever that building was with the yellow dome, when Joel kills that one infected, and kind of like this fungus, like almost a vine type thing, like wrapped around his fingers, kind of sent a message to the big horde that was outside on the streets. I don't know, it makes the infected a lot more formidable, I gotta say. But, and speaking of the infected, whoever the actors were that are playing them, just they completely committed, and it was really incredible. The way they were able to move their bodies and run and just attack, just the movements in general, really, really impressive. And I don't know, it was really creepy and I loved it. Also, the prosthetic design for the clickers, like it really makes them seem like humans that have like this fungus taking over them. They really do look like a true hybrid of fungus and human. And the way the makeup was done, the acting, the movement, the stunts, everything just really totally sold it for me, I gotta say. Yeah, really enjoying the show so far. Like I said, in terms of story, I really don't know what happens past this, to be honest. So I'm just like along for the ride for the show, honestly, to see how this plays out. Because honestly, I'm enjoying the show more than I enjoyed the game. Like I said, I tried it out like on 2 separate occasions, never made it too far. I guess, I don't know, I thought the story was okay, but maybe the gameplay didn't click. Click, no pun intended. But I'm not entirely sure what it was, but I'm enjoying this show for sure. All three of the main cast, Bella Ramsey, Pedro Pascal, and a Torv. She was great, but she went out like a boss though, as Tess. Yeah, really curious what's gonna happen next, and how Tommy's gonna play into this. At the end of episode 1, we did have like the message from Bill and Frank, like it was an '80s song which meant trouble apparently, like in terms of like the smuggler code. So, and Tess did say to try to bring them to Bill and Frank, so that's what I'm anticipating happening sometime down the line. I don't know if it's next episode or what. Them actually going to Bill and Frank's. Curious to see what that's all about and where Tommy plays in the story. But other than that, I'm excited to see more of what happens in the show. I'm going to be reviewing each episode of the season going forward. There's only 9 episodes, so there is 7 episodes left. Honestly, don't know what's going to happen, but I'm really curious. Catch you all next time. Bye.